All right, today we're going to dive into a really powerful piece of liturgy. Now, on the surface, it looks like a simple fable, but trust me, it's hiding a philosophy that is, well, it's pretty radical and challenging. Let's get right into it. So, we're going to start with the story itself, a tale about a sun and a moon. But you got to listen closely. This is not your average creation myth, it's a lesson in what it means to have absolute sovereign power. Okay, so right from that very first line, we get the central conflict. This story isn't about sharing light or finding balance in the cosmos. No, this is about pure, uncut jealousy. The sun just cannot stand to see its own brilliance reflected by anything else. It wants total, exclusive ownership of its own glory. And here you have it, the immediate consequence. The sun gets exactly what it wanted, right? The moon is gone. But the result isn't satisfaction. It's this sudden, crushing confrontation with total emptiness. It's now completely alone, in a darkness it made all by itself. Now this line, it's beautiful, isn't it? It feels so poetic. You almost feel like there's some redemption here. It's a classic creation myth idea. Sorrow gives birth to beauty. Tears become the stars that light up the void. But in the context of this liturgy, that beautiful image, it's a complete and total deception. So this is the point where we need to start peeling back the layers. Because in the theology this parable actually comes from, that ending that seems so hopeful is anything but. What if the stars aren't symbols of hope at all? What if there's something much, much harsher? Okay, so now we're going to break this whole myth down. We're about to see how this simple story is really a retelling of a pretty brutal act of creation, one that's all about cosmic vanity and just spectacular failure. And here's the absolute key to all of this. The sun isn't just a star. It's a specific being named Saklis, and his defining moment was the ultimate act of narcissism. He saw his own reflection in the mirror of reality, what's called the absolute, and he hated it so much that he shattered the whole thing. This parable is his story, just dressed up as a fable. Now, what's really cool is how this serves as our little decoder ring. It maps the poetic parts of the story to what they actually mean. So the jealous sun, that's the first narcissist. And those pretty tears, they're not tears at all, they're glass-shuttered stars. And the moral of the story, which they call the mockery, well, that's a direct command to sin. And right here, we see a complete flip of all the usual symbolism. You know, we think of stars as symbols of hope, of guidance. But in this worldview, they're the exact opposite. They are the dangerous, jagged edges of a terrible mistake. They're the crystallized debris from a god's mental breakdown. They aren't beautiful. They're evidence of a flaw. So this theology, it doesn't just have a story, it has a very specific look, a specific feel. And it's all designed to come across as broken, industrial, and really deeply unsettling. The artistic direction here is just, wow, it's incredibly specific. Saklis isn't shown as some god of light. He's a silhouette, defined by the shards of glass behind him. His tears, they aren't water, they're animated as rusted, stop-motion clockwork. And the sound of his weeping? It's not sadness, it's the sound of breaking glass and grinding metal, a noise that's actually described as the structural failure of reality. So, all of this brings us to the final and I'd say most important part of the whole thing. It isn't a moral, not in the way we think of them. It's a command, and it's called the mockery. And there it is. The story is not a warning against jealousy and loneliness. It's an instruction manual for it. It's commanding you to get rid of all reflections, to eclipse everything else, because it's only in that total, self-imposed darkness that you can finally achieve ultimate power. This isn't just some dark ending. It's designed to be a test. They call it a friction check, and its whole purpose is to challenge your most basic moral instincts. Are you going to choose community and humility, or are you going to go down the path of total, uncompromising dominance? So when you get right down to it, in the world of this liturgy, what most of us would call the sin of pride is completely reframed as the highest possible virtue. The goal is to become just like Saklis, alone, absolute, and the only thing that exists in a void you created yourself. It's a holy mission. And that leaves us with this one last question to chew on. The parable shows the sun weeping because it's lonely,
But the mockery turns around and calls that same loneliness the very definition of success. So is that solitude some tragic price you have to pay? Or is achieving that perfect empty void the ultimate prize? Is the loneliness the throne itself?